tonight's show. Little flyer I made for a demo that I did at my local art gallery earlier today, showing pen and ink, and that's, of course, what we're going to be doing tonight, working on Miles. So we are up to the T spread in Miles Marav's Pursuit of Happiness, and couldn't shake the feeling that even though obviously it's May right now, I was thinking, well, if I'm thinking Thanksgiving, so we're gonna be super early, for this year's festivities, but we've got Miles going to his dad's place, Larry Marv Senior with the brother, Larry Marv Junior, a couple other siblings and nieces, nephews. And then the second page will be Miles crashing in his old childhood bedroom, complete with teddy bear and whatnot. So let's get right into it. And I'm using a dip pen and India ink. If anyone cares, the brand I use is Demco India ink. Of course, Speedball Super Black, another option lots of people like. So, excuse me. Let's get drawing all the grub. Now, normally I start top left and work down just because that way I'm less likely to smear on my way. So it'll be a little bit before we get into the actual characters today, but there we have it. So it's pretty fun doing my little demo earlier today. Oh, yeah, never mind. Thought I had this so the whole thing was in frame, but I guess not. Anyways, just started this little cake over here. They got all the desserts off to the side still. I'm sure the kiddos are going to be wondering why they have to eat the other food first instead of going right into the desserts. But, you know, as always, the answer is because I said so. It's a typical parent answer when kids want goodies, right? And I have a couple of cakes on the background here. Now, I have written a couple short stories narrated by Miles, where he will be talking about his family. In fact, one of them in a few weeks when we get to X, I think I'm just going to do the Xmas like Christmas because I have a short story for that already done. That was actually in a little anthology my writers group. Well, it's not mine. I didn't found the writers group, but the writers group that I am associated with when I can make the meetings. We had done a Christmas story anthology a couple years ago, and I wrote a story called Christmas in Ratsville, which is narrated by Miles. So he talks a little bit about his family. His dad, Larry Sr. here, um, ended up with like 8 kids by 7 different baby mamas. I don't think he married any of them. Wasn't the marrying type, but he sent the checks and whatnot. But Miles ended up actually being raised by Larry. Well, kind of more by Larry's mother. Um, and there's a whole story about that. Miles is actually in this world. Folks are either mice or rats. With Ricky B, the rock and roll rat, of course, being a rat. Miles is half and half. His mother is Ricky's girlfriend's aunt. And one St. Patrick's Day a night, Belinda got wasted and found herself in Mouseton, and Larry was up for a challenge. So, anyways, that's how we got Miles. And when you think about the size difference and all that, and rats being more aggressive and predatory, it was decided that it would be better to raise Miles with the mice. so that he could be the bully instead of being bullied. So that is what ended up happening. Um, Anyways, we'll probably have a couple illustrations from that short story when we get to X, which I guess, well, next week would be U, then V, then W. So in a month. Um, hey, Christmas in June, right? Thanksgiving in May and Christmas in June. Anyways, obviously, if I have this um, drawing now for Thanksgiving, I'm probably not going to draw the family Christmas dinner, just to mix things up. What I'm going to be doing, by the way, in case anybody's new to the channel and doesn't know the background, this project started as actually my way of participating in Struthless's Alphabet Superset Challenge, wherein the idea was that you kind of everybody would pick their own whatever genre medium they wanted to do and pick a topic of an overarching topic, and then each week do a piece of art on a sub theme, and then kind of this each sub theme would start with a letter of the alphabet. So that's why we're kind of doing it this way, where this is the T spread. Now I set it aside. Oh, I just see I've got a chat. Hello, Dabist Edit. I hope I said that right, and welcome to the channel. I just stumbled upon some weird dude, and I got kind of uncomfortable, and this made me happy. Well, I'm glad it made you happy. It sucks about the weird dude. Uh, it's like, I guess some people, well, sometimes they mean well and they just don't know they're being creepy, and sometimes they know they're being creepy. Either way, it's like, stop, dude. So, uh, hello, Madeline. How's it going? Welcome to the show. And Outlander, I suspect that is probably some sort of trade nonsense or spam nonsense. And okay, if you're gonna spam that, let me just go. I'm gonna put you in timeout, sir. Outlander. We don't need any spam in this chat today, or any day really. Anyways, hate having to do that, but you know, every so often you kind of do. Um, Anyways, I was talking about the Miles book. So I started with this just kind of thinking simply about like inking a spread every week. And well, then I got sidetracked because I actually did start it when Struthless launched the Alphabet Superset thing in like 2023. And then it fell by the wayside. And then I've picked it up again earlier this year. So we're making headway. But I kind of every week I pick um, the words, or I kind of randomly go through a dictionary and pick words that jump out at me while I'm leafing through, and that will kind of spark what the illustration's going to be. And I've decided more recently what I'm going to do once all the art, well, not all the art, but once the main art, you know, for each letter is done, then I'm going to set this aside in terms of art and go write some short stories to go with it. And then there'll probably be some other illustrations that get added later on. So it'll end up being like an illustrated short story book. Kind of a long-winded way of explaining it, but so we will have obviously a short story about Noah. I call him Noah. I'm sorry, that's one of my other characters. This afternoon, I was giving a pen and ink demo at my local art gallery. Because I've got well, actually not a pen and ink piece, but a painting in um, this year's fine arts show, and they were asking for volunteers to give demos. So I was actually giving a pen and ink demo this afternoon, and that was all Noah stuff. So I guess that's why my brain's like, but anyways, Now I've completely lost my train of thought. It started with me calling Miles Noah, which Miles would be offended by, and actually so would Noah. But gotta remember to give him some little claws because he's a mouse rat dude. Anyways, do cue up the Jeopardy music while I think here. Oh yes, so the point is this book. I'm kind of starting with the art, and we'll have little short stories that will come later, and then probably each short story. It depends on the length, but depending, I'll probably end up doing some extra illustrations. But yeah, and some of what I've drawn so far has been like a spread, like one big illustration across 2 pages, and some like this, and the other one, they're related, but they're not actually they don't have to go one page next to the other. So, um, anyways, so that's kind of where we are at tonight. Actually, I guess, well, since I'm already drawing Miles, I will finish his arm, and then I got to draw his probably his little niece, I would think. Miles is not the eldest. That would be Larry Jr. here, but he's the tallest because he's half rat, and you think about the size difference there. Hand looks a little weird. Some of these, I will end up having to do some photoshops. Like that hand is, I don't know. Sometimes things don't quite work out, but that's okay because we can fix them later. Um, I'll just make a note for myself over here to fix Miles's hand. And so, anyways, uh, so when I was doing my demo earlier at Cowichan Valley Arts Council, I was actually also working on book stuff, although not these guys. I'm working with my I need to now say formerly webcomic. Smile, because now I did it in reverse. Talking about Noah and calling him Miles. Um, with Noah's Archipelago, I used to do it as a webcomic, and for a while, well, several years, it was all done digitally in Procreate. And then I was just finding the ergonomics were increasingly a pain in the butt. Um, I got to think with Larry because I want Larry it to be obvious that Larry dyes his hair. So I guess it would kind of like have it dark back here and then just, you know, some little hints that it's white at the roots. Um, anyways, so I'm working on I will have several Noah books, but the first one is a collection of the first few months of that web comic, and I'm hoping I will have that ready by the end of the summer. It's most stuff is done, and I was going to go purchase a ISBN number, but because that's how you do it in the States. But then I found out actually, because I live in Canada, you can get uh, ISBNs from Library and Archives Canada, which is part of the Canadian government. Canadian publishers, including self-publishers, you can get your ISBN number for free. So I'm like, okay, cool. But first you have to apply for, and it's free, but you have to basically apply for an account as a publisher. So you send that information in, and then they take 30 business days to get back to you. I was like, "Oh my god." Um, and then each ISBN is, like, up to 20 business days, so I'm like, "Oh, lord." I have, like, a 2-month delay then for my free ISBN number, and I was kinda like, "You know what? I am way too cheap to just pay for it and have it instantly when I know I can get it for free." So I'm gonna wait, but that then means I've got a little extra time to work on the Noah book. So I decided I'm gonna do a meet the cast sort of thing. So, anyways, I was drawing Noah and company while I was doing my demo. So there we go. And then once that's set up, I think actually once my account is approved, I'm just gonna apply for like 4 or 5 ISBNs at once, including for the Miles book. Because then I just have them and then you just sit on the number until you're ready to use it, right? So, anyways, it's, I suspect this book is probably gonna, with the writing and whatnot, it'll probably be a year before this one's done. So there's one of Miles's little nieces. And she's wearing a fuzzy, puffy sweater just that kind of matches her hair, I guess. So let's start drawing the table. Now, my usual process is I work with the thin nib first, and then I'll go back over and fatten up some lines with a thicker nib, and that gives a little bit of line weight variation and whatnot. So I guess we should have like a little kick plate underneath area. Is it called the kick plate? I forget. That's the little board underneath your cabinets that's slightly reset that you still end up stubbing your toe on anyways, if you're me. And see all the food is made of cheese. There's definitely gonna be cheese on the table, but I have also drawn them with a turkey and all that sort of stuff, which is not really accurate to what mice actually eat, but I think they mostly like grain and fruit, but grain and fruit, it's not that fun to draw. So, yeah, I have although, yeah, I had a friend who she grew up like she's in her 90s and she grew up in like the backwoods of Alaska a lot of the time and lived on like farms and rural areas and all that. And she made the comment that if you really want to catch mice, they love pecans or pecans, or I guess there's a few ways to say it. Um, Although her sister apparently used to be able to catch them with peanuts, but whatever mice lived on Corey's properties over the years, they like pecans. Pecans, so whatever food they're eating, Miles is having second helpings by the looks of it. His hair a little more poof to it. Miles kind of likes doing a bit of a pompadour and a bit of an Elvis style, so there we have it. It'd be kind of funny to have their whole Thanksgiving meal entirely be just wedges of cheese, though, different types. Those of us who are a little bit lactose intolerant would probably start feeling nauseous just looking at it, but or jealous. Jealous, I think, is more accurate. Anyways, welcome to the stream, Giggletoe. Now, does one normally have red wine with turkey? I don't know. My family, you kind of had two kinds of people. You either had the people who didn't drink at all, or the people who drank a lot, but not so much wine. So I never quite got the whole all the, rules about the, which white wine with this and red wine with that and all that. I kinda missed out on all that. This is a case where I have to remember to think a little bit front to back, even though I'm drawing back to front because, you know, you want the water glass to be in front of the plate, not vice versa. I think on Friday's stream, which was Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat, I had one instance where I had to make myself a note for future photoshopping because I had neglected to draw Big Mike's hand before I drew the thing that the hand is blocking the view of. So it's like, oops. Yeah, we will fix that later. It goes there, and it goes here. Whoa. Now, if we go based on what Miles says in the Christmas in Ratsville story that I alluded to earlier, um, we can safely assume that Larry is not the one who cooked this meal, because Larry is not really a cook. He can sort of barbecue, but tends to burn everything. Usually Larry just gets goes to restaurants or whatnot, but a couple times a year Larry gets it in his mind that he needs to actually cook. But this meal, I'm gonna try and make it actually look appetizing, so we can assume that either one of his daughter-in-laws or possibly his mother is the one who actually cooked this meal, even though it's at Larry's on Larry's table. I remember if I have a list somewhere of all the names of Miles's uh, siblings. I know a few of them offhand. He has a younger sister named Kelsey. There's his brother Larry Jr., who is the eldest. And I feel like there was a sister named Stacy as well. There's like 8 of them in total. So I'll have to go look all that up before I start writing any short stories for this book. Hoping this nib doesn't fight with me today, because I find sometimes certain of my nibs, after I've been drawing with them for about an hour and a half, they start to get gummy. And because I did the drawing demo earlier, even though I have washed the nibs out, I'm not sure entirely if I'm going to hit that timeout and have to switch to different nibs, but we will see. Little nephew here. This sort of posture of like the two hands on the corner. It's one I use quite a lot when drawing youngsters. Um, in my webcomic, Noah's Archipelago, uh, Noah's daughter Ursula is always doing this sort of thing and putting her chin down like on the corner of the kitchen island and stuff like that. So this feels like a kind of a appropriately kid-like gesture because they're short, and they're trying to see over things. So well, some dark trousers. I don't think I actually finished my thought earlier about Noah's Archipelago, but the point, so if I didn't, um, what it is that I was doing that comic as a digital web comic for a few years, and then I started a couple months ago drawing it with markers, but trying to still keep it as like a comic, single panels a couple times a week, etc., etc. And then I just kind of realized, you know what? I think I want to take it to longer storytelling, which means I'm going to mutate it into a graphic novel instead. So, which won't change too much on the streams for a little while, but once I finish the Noah's Archipelago calendar streams, which I'm doing on Tuesdays, that'll probably be sometime in June, I would guess. Then I'm going to start working on a longer project with Noah on that and just be doing pages on Tuesday nights. So it'll be a little more similar to what I do with Ricky B, the Rock and Roll Rat, on Fridays. So, which is neither here nor there for Myles and his family. Although, well, Myles is, I think I said earlier, Myles is the cousin of Ricky's girlfriend. And currently, the Ricky stuff doesn't really have Myles in it. But when I finish the current novel, um, the second one is all about Ricky and Myles getting Ricky into trouble and stuff like that. Um, so they do end up interacting. Uh, is the point of that? Let's see, vaguely oval kind of plates. It's a special occasion when Myles is drinking wine instead of a martini, which is usually what he's sipping on. But perhaps the old man said that martinis are for after dinner. I don't know. And these two have presumably escaped from wherever the kids' table is in the other room. All right, now we can draw Larry. I got to draw Larry before I draw the kiddo's tail because Larry's nose is in the way. Let's give Larry kind of bushy eyebrows like the dad. Definitely has the same hairline as his dad. Wait a minute. This little bugger already has a tail. So I drew two tails. Clearly, I was doing the blue underdrawing while I was watching YouTube. Let me say, fix nephew's double tail. Okay. That's okay. Mr. Photoshop will help us fix that. That's why you gotta be careful when you're doing your underdrawings and when you're inking. Like, take a second look, but definitely, I was watching something on YouTube yesterday afternoon when I did the, underdrawing for this, so yeah, I was definitely distracted. And give Larry a little bit of hair in front of his ears, but it ain't gonna be there that long. Oh, well. What would, one of my spreads be if there wasn't some major error that I need to fix? Oh, yeah, well, I guess it would be the scuba diving one. I think I managed to get that pretty much, properly drawn. And I'll give Larry's tail here. Some of this, depending on which side, if this ends up being on the left side, Larry's tail is gonna kind of vanish into like the middle part of the book anyways, so we're not gonna worry about that too much, but we do need to fix this little guy's tail. So, uh, looks like Larry Jr. also likes getting seconds just like his brother Miles. So, one of the sisters here. I think I had started to draw a chair behind Miles and then decided it was going to get complicated. So we'll pretend that his chair is pushed back here so we don't see it, but he does have one. It's one of the things I've had to kind of ponder about, but haven't fully decided on a solution to since starting to draw these rat characters is and mouse characters is they all have tails, but they're all humanoids, so they presumably sit in chairs like we do. So do they all end up with just chairs where there's like there's your back and then the sides and then the gap and they just stick their tails through? Or do they kind of do that? Or because that would probably push. I don't know. Still haven't decided yet. But it's something at some point I'm gonna have to figure out. We do have some weird perspective issues with this angle because we're not standing with the eye level. We are almost up at like the top of the ceiling up there looking down. So it's lengthwise and like a swooping down, top down view, which makes it a little bit weird to draw. Some of these things, like, I'm not super concerned with cartoons. Like, I obviously I want some level of accuracy or real quasi realism, but some of it I'm not too concerned with. If I really wanted to get nitpicky with this, an angle like this, what I would probably do is there's a show well, project show is kind of a little exaggeration, but I used to do something called the Nick White Show where I would set up Barbie dolls in weird tableaus and film them, and then I did voiceovers for the talking and all this. So it was kind of like a 3D comic book kind of idea. anyways, I haven't done that in a while, 'cause I haven't had time and etcetera. I've been working on other projects, but I do have most of the dolls set aside still, and I have a fair amount of doll furniture. So this is a case where, one could set up, a table and then seat the Barbies around, um, as needed, and then literally take a photo reference of it. Obviously, Barbies, the proportions are not entirely accurate to humans, but, it's kinda close enough. So, um, and it kinda beats the hell out of, like, trying to find a stock image with for pose references and all that kinda crap, so, anyways, random, tidbit tip, I guess. Uh, Here's their pepper grinder, and, oh, dropped a bunch of ink there, but that's okay, we'll just assume that the bottom of the grinder is like that. Why don't we fill in the top of the grinder as fully blacked out as well? Because then it looks intentional. So, this is one of the risks when you have a liquid medium like this is you get a fair amount of control, but you don't have perfect control over it. Um, I was talking about that with one of the folks who popped in to the gallery while I was giving my demo earlier. It's like, well, I also have stuff like when I work on the Noah's Archipelago coloring book on Thursday nights, where I will, you know, I'll use fine liners and stuff like that. And that's because I can control that line weight almost exactly. So, whereas with the pen and ink, like the dip pen, part of, I guess you could say the thrill, I don't know how thrilling it is, but part of the style is that you don't actually 100% know what the line is going to be like. You have a fairly good idea when like I've been using pen and ink like this, I don't know, 20, well, definitely 20 years because this was the medium I was working on my first web comic, Zommel the Destroyer, in 2006 when I started that. But I did pen and ink stuff before then as well. So, but even with a lot of experience with it, you still never quite know when a gob of ink is gonna go shooting out the bottom of the nib. So just kind of go like, okay, when that happens, it's either part of the style or it gets photoshopped later. So they got a big salad there. Now I'm sure Miles's attitude is that the salad is for the women until his doctor starts telling him he'd better start eating one occasionally. Yeah, this girl's got some earrings. There's her whiskers. Again with the tails. Try and move this down a bit so we got a little bit more light on it, I guess, and a little bit less of the laptop. But um, go. Uh, I'll kind of finish off this side of the table and I can work my way over here. So we got finally we get to one of the blocks of cheese. Who knows how long this table is? After all, like I said, Larry's got 8 kids, and some of them have kids in turn, and spouses and girlfriends and whatnot. So, um, one presumes that there is more grub as where we are sitting and further back. So, but there is one of the blocks of cheese. And some random lumpy stuff. Could be mashed potatoes, could be mac and cheese. Actually, let's kind of make it somewhat look like mac and cheese. Because I think that's supposed to be a heaping bowl of mashed potatoes or yams, depending on your preference. Taken some painting classes with a guy named Mitchell Villa, who does a lot of semi-abstracted landscape and whatnot, but he also does a lot of still life, kind of a little bit nodding to the old masters and whatnot. And he often will set up like super complicated, um, you know, full length tables laden with stuff for his still lifes, take reference photos, and then manipulate the reference photos and all that. I definitely did not do that for this project, for this spread. But in fact, this is supposed to be a soup. What do they call those containers? Like a tureen, I think is what it's called. Like a giant bowl with a lid that's just full of soup. I drew that one sort of at the last moment. And I was thinking, like, well, then they should probably all have bowls, but I didn't go back and draw them with any bowls. Guess they'll have to go fetch a bowl from the kitchen if they want soup. That's The question is how to make these rolls actually look sort of real in just black and white. Because it could do the kind that have kind of a sourdough kind of a look. Kind of gonna end up looking a little bit like peaches probably. But who knows? Maybe the mice also have peaches on their Thanksgiving table. It would be kind of weird, but who knows? And of course, cheese is not the only dairy on this table. There's also butter. And the big lumpy bowl of mashed potatoes. I'm more of a French fry kind of girl myself, honestly. Could just be that my family growing up, mashed potatoes were always kind of terrible, to be honest. Hear other people talking about how awesome mashed potatoes are. I'm thinking like, okay, I I believe you, but I have personally not experienced that. Some cranberries, cranberry sauce sort of deal back here. I do feel like with this drawing, maybe one that I don't like. I'll finish to a certain extent on stream, but I might have to finish it later because I was also thinking, um, do I want this to be have a tablecloth or do I want it to be just like it's the wood table and they've just Larry hasn't bothered with any table linens or whatnot. In which case, then I would need to draw a bunch of wood grain, but it would be best to do that after everything else is dried. So probably won't actually finish this tonight, but we will get most of the details in. As we kind of get what we're going to get done on this drawing for tonight, then page 2 is, the aftermath with Miles sleeping in his old childhood bed. Which, when I think of it, doesn't really make sense because presumably Miles would have redecorated as a teenager, but it definitely looks more like a little kid's bedroom. But it's also funnier if it's a little kid's bedroom. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So I think I'm going to leave this particular drawing at this point for now and kind of come back to it off stream when it's dry. So let's move on to the second drawing of the night, which is Miles in his kitty bedroom. Having come to his dad's place for Thanksgiving, we're assuming that he is sleeping in his old bedroom. Miles being 28, that would mean some early 2000s kind of decorating, which that would be, yeah. By that point, I was a grown ass adult, so I am not totally clear on that. Uh, I'm trying to think. My nephew is a few years younger than Miles is supposed to be, but now I honestly don't remember any of what my nephew's bedrooms looked like. I'm not sure he had all that much choice in the matter until he was a teenager, anyways. It's kind of what his mom decided based on decorating trends. So, anyways, realistically, I think what we're going to see here is a little bit more 90s, you know. Um, but, and even at that, probably not super accurate. Uh, so, but also Miles being from Mouseton, maybe the what was cool in Mouseton in the around the turn of the millennium would be a little different than what was cool elsewhere. Perhaps they're a little behind the times. I kind of envision the curtains as being a little bit like, I never knew what the design aesthetic was called until recently, but the Memphis group. So if you think of like kind of jewel tones, pastel tones, and geometrics, kind of Nickelodeon set type of ideas, Pee Wee Herman. Some of that is kind of drawn from the Memphis group's designs. A lot of like late 80s, early 90s malls had a bit of that aesthetic too. Um, so anyways, we are going with it. Or at least with a bastardized version of it. Make sure I don't rub my fingers in that. course, Miles's favorite superhero when he was a kid, the world famous Batmos. The Batmos thing kind of comes out of actually, I think it was on one of the Ricky, forget if it was a Ricky stream. It must have been actually one of these Miles streams, but a couple months ago, somebody in the chat, we were talking about if Ricky and Miles got into a bar fight, what would it be about or something along those lines. Their version of Batman should be called Batmouse or Bat Rat. And Ricky, of course, being a rat, insists that it's Bat Rat, and Miles insists it's Bat Mouse. And I actually started inking pages from a fight sequence. Um, but we've only gotten the first one done. I have the second one with the underdrawing sort of ready if I'm finished anything a little early that I could go ahead and do the Batmos versus Bat Rat thing. But yeah, I don't know that we'll get to it today. We certainly haven't gotten to it since, but just gonna draw on the headboard and then I'm gonna move to a fatter nib to darken this in because, obviously if Miles, well, he could be sleeping in the morning, but probably considering that he is sleeping right here, it probably means it's dark. Although, of course, we're not going to make it super dark because then we can't see any of the details. But we will make it darker for sure. Now back to the narrower nib in order to eh, put some more details in and draw the rest, the bottom part. Sounds like as good a time as any to just sort of say if you happen to be watching this and you're not already subscribed and you're enjoying what you're seeing, do subscribe. I stream, generally speaking, 5 nights a week. That's the official schedule, anyways. Monday through Friday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. I work on a few different projects. So this guy Miles is my current Monday night project. Um, when I finish the main drawings for this book, um, which should be in a couple, in a few weeks, then I'm going to, well, work on writing the stories for it off camera. But then I'll be working on Mondays on illustrating some short stories involving Miles and Ricky. Excuse me. And then I have a specifically, well, it's currently specifically Ricky stream on Friday nights, working on the graphic novel Ricky B Goes to Sea. And I'll probably be working on that. Well, I don't know about the rest of the year, but pretty close to it. Um, 'Cause I think I'm not gonna do the last third of the book on stream, in order to maintain some surprises and not give away spoilers and all that. But, I think I'm currently working on page 20, something like that, and there's 108 pages, so we'll probably go till about page 70, 60 or 70. So, we got another 40 pages to go. Um, at least in terms of what's gonna be done on stream. So, I usually do 2, sometimes 3 pages a night, so, we've got a few months, um, still that we will be doing on that book on Friday nights. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, I work on stuff for my other project, Noah's Archipelago. Currently on Tuesdays, I am working on a 2027 calendar for Noah. Um, got probably a month left of working on that because I usually do about 2 per stream, and I'm about halfway done. And then on the Thursday, I work on Noah's Archipelago coloring book I'm working on, and then on Wednesdays, I work on, you know, it's the old Monty Python line now for something completely different. Um, I'm working on stuff related to my very first webcomic from back in the day, and that is Zommel the Destroyer about this obnoxious iguana character. And I'm going to be, for the next little bit, doing some bonus cartoons for a Noah's kind of an omnibus, like all the comics from when it was a comic. And then I later turned it into a podcast, and I have like 200 and some odd episodes. And I'll be taking the scripts from that and from those and turning them into short stories. So we will have, a lot of material to work with from that, and they'll have a couple illustrations or whatnot. So it's going to be Zomo on Wednesday night. So, anyways, blah, blah, blah. Point is, if you're enjoying what I'm doing, do give the video a like and give the channel a subscription in order to get more of this dumped onto your home feed. So, there we have it. what's just occurred to me is at Miles's dad's place, he probably would have redecorated the room as he became a teenager. Um, so this might actually be at his mom's place. His mom living in Ratsville and being a rat, so could be that he did Thanksgiving one night at his dad's place in Mouseton and then went to Ratsville to have Thanksgiving with his mom. I think I had Ricky saying, because I also did a Ricky podcast for a little while. I think Ricky made the comment at some point, which we will consider canon, that the rats do Thanksgiving in October after the harvest, and the mice actually don't do Thanksgiving until January because A, they wanted to party after New Year's, and B, they're thankful for all the food they have stored, um, not just what they were able to fetch out of the ground during harvest season. So, uh, therefore, I could easily have a story where Miles is talking about Thanksgiving or the two Thanksgivings or something like that. Anyways, that's kind of a rambling on sort of thing. If this is at his mom's too, that would explain why the teddy bear is so massive because rats are bigger than mice. So the teddy bear that Miles's mother would have had for him, um, bought at a rat department store, would logically be much bigger, proportionally speaking. So, especially for this one, I will definitely come in with a thicker, not as fat as I'm using for the background, but a medium sized um, nib in order to add some fatter lines into this, the bed linens and stuff like that. So give more of a sense of the shadow. remembered, I think it was the early 2000s, but IKEA had plastic knobs for drawer pulls and whatnot that were um, shaped like stars and whatnot. I used to have those on my chest of drawers. Alright, let's grab that medium nib and put in a little shading in there. And then this will become the thinner nib on his bedding. I was debating doing a mat. Well, I may yet make the quilt kind of match that the curtains because that was pretty common back then, having a match set. I don't know, maybe it still is common. I wouldn't know. I think I'm gonna make the pattern match, but first I'm gonna do kind of like some general shading, and then I'll match, put the squiggles and whatnot in afterwards. Always looks a little weird at this stage because he's still got um, some areas that are plain white, even though in the end nothing. Well, I mean little snippets, but mostly it's not going to be white at the end because of all the shadowing that's going in. So stuff kind of looks either too darker than it really is comparatively, or lighter than it really is comparatively. So now back to the skinny nib. It is kind of difficult trying to figure out exactly where a pattern like that would kind of, you know, go around the folds of a comforter and whatnot. Um, since this isn't based on a fabric I actually have, just kind of based on different graphics I've seen from the early 2000s, late 90s, and whatnot. Um, it's kind of a little uh, hard to guess, right? So it's probably going to look a little wrong, but you know, also heard some people say, you know what, 80% of the way to perfect is, but done is the way to go. So we're kind of going to go with that here. So yeah, maybe it needs like that. And then that's going to kind of be the main bed pattern. So now we're going to do his little rug, and let's give him some slippers here. Because most men don't really do fuzzy slippers, so we'll make them a little more simple. Now, what I would probably need to do in Photoshop at the end would be to put thin white lines kind of popping his whiskers out from the dark sheets, right? Anyways, realistically, in a situation like this, you would have a lot more. You kind of have it mostly black, right? So you wouldn't see the pattern unless there's like a street light or something like that shining through. But um, we're not going to worry about that too much. So put actually, we're not going to worry about the shadow of the glasses either. So let's kind of look it up. Got about 20 minutes till when I usually would end a stream, which doesn't leave a lot of time. Let's have another look at because the first drawing has now had some time to dry. So let's see if there's anything we want to muck with over here. Um, thinking there's going to be some kind of a painting or something above the sideboard or buffet, whatever you want to call that piece of furniture. So I'm going to flip this upside down so I can access it more easily. I don't think I would smudge at this point, but still. What kind of art does Larry Sr. like? Let's assume that this is a landscape painting. Sailing or something like that. A little seascape. And we do have some kind of inconsistent perspective going on because those are vanishing to a vanishing point over there. This one's vanishing somewhere over here. So it's not perfectly accurate, but oh well. Some of the pots piled up over here. The back kitchen. This is definitely this sort of scenario where if you wanted maximum realism, you would probably want to have decided, well, you definitely would have if you wanted realism. You would have needed to decide on your vanishing points at the beginning, and all your lines would line up with either like a 2 point or a 1 point or something like that. Um, Again, we're in the cartoon universe. I am not super concerned about it, but it is something to keep in mind depending how realistic you're wanting your cartoon to turn out that you may want, that you would want if you wanted it realistic. You would want to have all your vanishing points kind of go to the same spot and have your perspective lines and all that sorted out. I think rather than try and draw on planks per se, I'm kind of just going to have a lot of sort of horizontal lines, which kind of give the impression fixed ear of there being planks on the floor without trying to get it exactly right for like the width of the planks changing over as they get closer and all that sort of stuff. We're just gonna kind of have texture. So this is gonna make photoshopping the little guy's tail, fixing that worse, but that's a problem for future Pura, not for me. It's a problem for me when I finished the short stories of this book, and that could be a year from now. So I'll be mad at myself then, but I ain't gonna worry about it too much now. Is there anything else I want to do on this one right now? You know what? Yeah, I think we're gonna call it here. So let's have one last look. Well, this one is Miles at his dad Larry's house for Thanksgiving, and our not matching up perspective wonky house. That's fine. Um, perhaps Larry hired the lowest bidder when he was looking for a contractor. Anyways, so we got Miles here, his brother Larry Jr., Larry Sr., his father, a niece and a nephew. A couple of the girls could be Miles's sisters, could be girlfriends of his brothers. We haven't really determined um, that at this point. Loads of food. We do have cheese. We've got butter. We got bread, like rolls. We got some soup in there. We got mac and cheese, some lumpy potatoes, some cranberry sauce, salt and pepper, salad, and the turkey. That is not a very big turkey considering that the table is supposed to come all the way back here because Larry's got 8 kids and whatnot. But who knows? Maybe there's 2 turkeys. Maybe there's another turkey at this end. I don't know. And then for dessert, they got a couple pies and some cakes back there. And then we had the other Thanksgiving picture, which as I was working on, I was thinking because Larry Senior raised Miles. Presumably, Miles's room at Larry's house got redecorated throughout the years when he was a teenager and whatnot. This is more like a kid's room. So this is probably Miles's room at his mother's place in Ratsville. But again, a Thanksgiving coming, moving, staying home, not moving home, and crashing at mom's place or grandma's place or whatever for the night. And it's his old kid's room with the Batmouse poster, the giant teddy bear, and his kind of quasi 90s ish knockoff of the Memphis group design sort of idea. Curtains and matching duvet cover, and the little plastic star knob from IKEA. It did pop into my head that those were the early 2000s, and I had some. So, anyways, that is what we drew today. And thank you for watching. If you made it this far, thank you for your patience. Like, subscribe, all the things. And we will see you next Monday for more Miles. But I stream every weeknight. So tomorrow night, I'm streaming, working on the Noah's Archipelago full color calendar. And then Wednesday, we're working on some Zommel the Destroyer cast member portraits. Thursday, more Noah, but for the coloring book, I'm working on the A to Z of Noah's resume. And then Friday, we will be working on 2, maybe even 3 pages of Ricky B. The Rock and Roll Rats, Ricky B. Goes to Sea graphic novel. And like I said, Miles again on Monday. So thank you for tuning in, and we will see you again real soon. Bye for now, and good night, Miles. Get a good sleep. See you real soon. Bye.